I wanted to talk a little bit about that connection between the handmade and the digital, because it always seems to me, and obviously in the past, there's a connection with future systems now going forward with Amanda Levete Architects, that in a way you straddle these kind of wonderful worlds where there's a history and a connection with practices like archigram, for example, and that wonderful vision and optimism, and then very much a very contemporary engagement with digital discourse and the kind of digital practitioners who are on the forefront.
Yeah.
Do you see that yourself? Do you feel that you straddle those two worlds, and that perhaps that, not that they're necessarily paper architects, but sometimes that freedom that comes with just expressing ideas is still very much in the spirit of your work as much as the computational?
Yes, I mean, for me the unbuilt work has as much significance as the built work, and that goes to, you know, looking back at other great at visionary architects like Cedric Price, like Archigram, who built virtually nothing, but whose work is resonant even today, and you can see the influence on many buildings. And even looking at the kind of legacy of our unbuilt work, you know, it has a significance that's just as, you know, to me anyway, as powerful as the built work, and sometimes more so because it's more extreme. It's very important to me to have that kind of that vision, that passion, that conceptual overview, but to merge it with something that is rooted in real pragmatism, and also that uses the very kind of, you know, the limits of technology as they exist now, whether it's in the process of design and digital software, or indeed the processes of fabrication, but always to bring that back to the hand, and the hand drawing, the handmade model, because I think if you try and separate the two, you become distant from the people that you're actually designing for, and you become distant from the process, and it's very easy to be seduced by the kind of digital world and to be trapped by your, you know, the images on the computer, and it's easy to lose sight of the real, you know, of the core idea, and to have, and when that happens, I think it's kind of evident in buildings where this has been the case, not our own, of course, that there is, you know, the building becomes a kind of empty vessel. There's nothing to hold it. There's no real authenticity. There's no integrity, and so for me, the way of holding on to that is to merge the digital and the hand, and to switch and see how one impacts the other.
Architects are often criticised that when they do furniture, they create mini buildings that are not very successful at an object scale. But your work seems to have this incredible dexterity between scales, and you've talked in the past about how one informs the other. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yes, I mean, for me, you know, it comes back a little bit to the kind of hand and digital, in that I see the design of furniture as a kind of laboratory, if you like, as a test bed for experimenting with form, with three-dimensional form, exploiting complex three-dimensional geometries that you might not be able to realise in a building simply because of cost or the scale of it, to stretch our visual language, and also to push fabrication possibilities to their limits, and explore materiality, and to then see how that can inform buildings. And so in a sense, almost the reverse is happening in our work, that the furniture and you know, the explorations that have come out of that are informing much bigger ideas, which are buildings, rather than buildings informing the furniture. So it's a, if you like, it's part of the kind of it's become part of the process of design to work at that scale. And also working with furniture, there's an ability to kind of refine form in a way that you don't have that finesse in a building, because it is at a different scale. However, that way of kind of refining a corner or a curve and the way that a curve becomes a straight line and those merging of geometries, that really can then be used and learnt from in designer buildings.
And in conclusion, I wanted to touch on the fact that, of course, there's many famous, well-known architectural partnerings, and now as you embark on your new practice, Levete Architects, looking back at your experience through Future Systems and your working relationship with the team and with Jan, what do you think you take from that experience into the future?
Well, I mean, you know, Future Systems was a huge part of my life. It was a 20-year partnership that I had with Jan Kaplitzky, and he had a monumental impact on my life, and it's something that will stay with me. To define what it is that I take, well, you know, I take the legacy of what we created together, and so it's, you know, part of who I am now. I think as a sort of a fluency of thinking and an absolute need to understand the way that a form, that a building, that an idea that we conceive can be realised. So I'm not interested in exploring form and then trying to figure out how it's going to be made. It holds no meaning for me. That it's, you know, whenever Jan and I did a competition, we always knew how the building was going to be built. We even sometimes knew who were the only people who could build it, in the case of the Media Centre at Lord's. So it's important for me to make sure that myself and also the team around me and my fellow directors have, you know, keep at the top of technical advances in materials and construction techniques, so that we're always designing, but only to the limits of what is achievable, even though we're kind of known for pushing beyond what, you know, is perhaps immediately evident, to try and keep ahead of the game technically, at the same time as being matched by this very, you know, great belief in imagining and in imagining beyond where you think you can go. So I guess that's what I will take with me from Jan.
Well, thank you very much. It's been wonderful to talk to you.
And you too.